this as much of the breakfast as possible. And I know usually we schmooze a lot. And I'll keep this Zoom open for the next hour or two. So after we kind of finish everything on our end, people are welcome to stay and hang out and have some conversations. Secondly, we're going to record the Zoom just so we can and have that if we maybe want to use it for purposes of marketing or anything like that. Although I don't think that the sidebar conversations get recorded, just whatever is in the main room, if everyone's okay with that. So thank you everyone for coming. It's been almost 2 years now since we've seen each other in person, since our last meeting, which was Minnesota, right? Minneapolis was the last Final Four in person. And I was just lamenting that I wish we could be in person in Indianapolis because they have the best Jewish deli, in my opinion, in the Midwest. But I'm glad that we're able to get together here after obviously a very difficult year. And I'm proud of the fact that over the last year, there have been a lot of great achievements in the Jewish coaching profession, with guys getting jobs, guys winning championships, and lots of positives in a year where there was also a lot of negatives for everybody. Matt just dropped a link in the group chat for everyone to see. If you didn't get an email or you just want to put in your updated contact information, we finally started a master Google Sheet to make sure that we're keeping abreast of everybody. Please make sure that when you put in your emails, you put in your personal emails versus your school emails, because we were going through our list yesterday and I found Coach Pasternack's email for New Orleans instead of Santa Barbara. So we want to make sure that after everyone moves around the lot that we have everybody's information. So I'm going to hand it over to Scott to talk a little bit about everything that happened over the last year in Jewish coaching, and then we'll go through some other stuff.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to thank Jason so much for constantly keeping this kind of together and going it's been a pretty informal fashion. Matt Elkin has done a great job of reaching out to me and Jason, kind of getting us to kind of get off our rear ends here and try to give a little more organization to things. And Matt's going to talk about that a little bit later. But I'm just going to highlight some things for us, because it has been an really exciting 2 years. The last time we got together 2 years ago, I think Todd Golden had just gotten the head coaching position at the University of San Francisco. And since then, there's been a number of other, and I hope I don't miss anybody, but a number of other new college coaches, Jewish college coaches. Scott Waterman just finished his second season as the head coach at Academy of Arts. Aaron Landon just finished his second season at St. Martin's University. As we talked, Josh Schertz, although he was already kicking butt at Lincoln Memorial, is now the new head coach at Indiana State University. And Jeff Robrin just the other day became the new head coach at the University of Denver. And obviously, if I've missed anybody, please let me know. We always try to do a good job of pointing out some of the great achievements each year as we come together. And so I'm going to just quickly run through 4 coaches that have particularly stood out over the last 2 years, frankly. But just this past year, we just mentioned Joe Pasternack, and Coach Pasternack just finished his 4th year at UCSB, where he's now won 88 games in 4 seasons and had 4 straight 20-win seasons. But this year, just an outstanding, a 22-5 record in the COVID year. They somehow found a way to avoid COVID all year. They won the Big West regular season going away, as well as the tournament championship. It was the first Big West regular season championship since 2010 for UC Santa Barbara, as well as the first NCAA tournament appearance since 2011. And they played a great game against Creighton and had a great chance to win the game. Obviously, it was lost in heartbreaking fashion. So just wanted to recognize Coach Pasternack, who I know is here on the Zoom with us, and on a great season, and really a great 4 years you put together at UCSB. Then I wanted to move on. We were just talking with Coach Pastner at Georgia Tech. What an amazing run, playing their best basketball at the right time. They finished the year 17-9 with an 11-6 ACC record, won their last 8 games of ACC play, including the tournament championship. That was the first ACC tournament championship at Georgia Tech since 1993, and their first NCAA tournament appearance since 2010. So congratulations, Coach Pastner, as well, on a great year. And then Josh Schertz, Lincoln Memorial. It seems like we talk about it every year. They had a 19-4 record. Were the South Atlantic Conference regular season champs, 9th conference championship in 11 years. Made it to the NCAA D2 national semifinal. And talk about a heartbreaking loss, a 3-pointer at the buzzer. And I hate to even bring it up to remind you, Coach, but an incredible season coming off of last year where they entered ranked number 2 in the country, entering the tournament at 32-1 before the tournament got canceled due to COVID. So an incredible 2 years as well, an entire run there, and congrats on the new job as well, Coach. And then lastly, I want to bring up Coach Elliot Steinmetz at Yeshiva. I didn't see if he's on or not. Is Coach Steinmetz on the call? I don't know if he is, but I want to point out they only got to play 7 games this year, 7-0 record, which has now gotten them to a 36-game winning streak. It's tied for the second longest streak in NCAA Division III history. Their last loss was November 9th, 2019. Last year in 2020, Yeshiva finished with a 29-1 record. They lost their first game of the season, won the next 29, were Skyline regular season and conference tournament champions, 16-0 conference record, and their first Sweet 16 appearance in school history before it got canceled due to COVID. They might have still been going. A great player named Ryan Terrell was a first-team All-American. It was a junior for him this year, and just done a great job. So I just want to take a few minutes there to point those guys out, recognize those guys, give them a virtual applause, and just congratulations. It's great to see so many Jewish coaches doing so well, getting opportunities to be head coaches. There's so many assistant coaches on this group that are doing such a great job, and great to see some of the guys have great success. I think it gives all of us a lot of hope here in the future for our opportunities when they come. So I think I'm going to turn it over to Matt at this point. Is that right?
You want to, Scott, do you want to give a little bit of a highlight about what you're doing with the D&I
Sure.
program?
Yeah, I've been asked. I'm representing our group as the Jewish Coaches Association as a representative on the DEI Alliance for Rising Coaches, which is the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Alliance. I think it's just great for us to have a seat at the table. Obviously, this is highlighting minority coaches and giving minority coaches more opportunities to get head coaching positions. And as members of, heck, we're just talking about it here in Passover and all the things that we've gone through as a Jewish people. And certainly we are a minority in the coaching world. There's no question, but our group is growing, tenfold year in and year out. And it's really been great to have a seat at the table just to talk about all of the issues going on, particularly over the course of this past year, with opportunities for coaches to get head coaching opportunities. And I think it's just given us a seat at the table, and it's given us, an opportunity to share, the stories that we have, and all the great coaches, and talk about all the great coaches that we have working hard as assistants in this business. And hopefully, all of us, everybody on this Zoom, getting an opportunity at some point to be a head coach. And so it's been great. We've had some speakers, we've had some opportunities to work with some search firms to talk about giving more opportunity for each of us. And hopefully that will, hopefully we'll be able to pay some dividend with that and continue to get more and more coaches opportunities that are Jewish.
Thank you, Scott, for filling us in. So real quick, I want to, before we go to Matt, I want to hand it over to Brian Seitz and Matthew Malik, who are going to talk a little bit about the Maccabi games, Maccabi team, them trying to put together the team. Are Brian and Matthew with us right now?
Yes.
Yep.
So go ahead. Either one of you can get started and fill us in on what you guys are working
Good
on.
afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, everybody. Brian Seitz here, Atlanta, Georgia. Yes, very proud of everybody's accomplishments, especially Coach Pastner this year representing Atlanta and getting in the NCAAs. And unfortunately, COVID took a bite out of his big man, leading scorer and ACC player of the year, but maybe they still be playing this afternoon, if not. Yeah, so after a year hiatus, we will be taking all of our teams to Israel in the summer of 2022. The games were pushed back, the Maccabia, because of the Olympics pushing back from 2020 to 2021. And so now we're going to be taking players over next summer. So what we've done is we've already named all of our head coaches and most of our assistant coaches, many of you who you know. John Shire from Duke will be our open team head coach. Behind me, you can see the picture of a scrimmage from 2017 between our open team and our U18 team. Doug Gottlieb was our head coach of the open team right there. And Howard Fisher, who's on the call, was the head coach of the U18. Both of them did win gold medals over Israel in the championship game. We had kind of a cool experience. We played against what is now a first round pick for the Washington Wizards. Denny Avila was on the U18 team that we played in the finals as a 6'4", 6'5", 175 pound kid who grew 6 inches in about a year and a half. So where we at is we have named coaches and we are ready to start. In the next few weeks, we are going to finalize tryout days. We were not sure if we're actually going to be able to have tryouts with COVID, but with the positive rollout of the vaccine and with a lot of positive news, we feel comfortable that in August and September, we're going to be able to have tryouts for these teams. So what we are looking for, what we need your help with is access to athletes that we can talk to that want to play. Jewish athletes born starting all the way back in up to 07 is the youngest 13-year-olds right now, but they'll be, by the time next summer rolls around, they'll be 15. So we need 07 and on. For men's teams, we have a 16U team, an 18U team, and then the open team. The open team are the best players in the country. We've had an amazing history of some amazing players and coaches, Bruce Pearl and Herb Brown and others have coached, and we've had some amazing players. Todd Golden was mentioned. He was one of the players. I saw Scotty Greenman's on the call, amazing players. And you can see many Division I players and others in the picture behind me. Elliot Steinmetz at Yeshiva, 2 of his players played for us in 2017. So these are some really talented athletes, and we need your help. If you know Jewish players in your conferences, if you know Jewish players on your teams that would be interested in doing this, please speak to us. It's a commitment. They'll be in Israel for at least 2 weeks, probably closer to 3.5 weeks. We're also going to have open teams, 35 and over, 45 and over. If any of you are interested in playing, we already have coaches and commissioners for those teams as well. And trials should going to be the first weekend in October for those teams. Ladies, we're going to have an 18U ladies team and an open team. Yet to be determined. We're trying to have a masters and a 16U. Yet to be determined. We have coaches for those teams as well. So if you know young ladies that want to participate, Division I athletes, we need their information as well. Unfortunately, we're not ready to release tryout dates because of basically the COVID protocols that we're trying to work through. But we should have those posted. I'll be happy to email everybody in the next couple of weeks when those are finalized, dates, locations. They'll be East Coast and West Coast. But if you can start circulating names to us, one of the challenges is finding the high school kids, because some kids didn't even have high school seasons this year. JCC Maccabi games have been canceled last summer and this summer. So finding a lot of the top Jewish athletes is a challenge. So if anything you guys can do to help, text me, call me, email me. I have all your emails pretty much. I'll circulate my information. A lot of our coaches are on today. Our U18 coach, Matthew Mock, is on as well. Matthew, is there anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for the opportunity. Yesterday, I reached out to just about all of you via email, and the response has been incredible. So I can't thank you all enough for that. My email address, if for whatever reason I didn't get you on email, is just my name, and I could put it in the messenger, and then also my cell phone as well. But it's a big task, and I think Brian just laid out some of the challenges. But after yesterday, my confidence is soaring. I mean, my phone just didn't stop ringing. The emails, it was incredible. So I appreciate all your support. For my team, the 18U, we're looking for kids that are born in 04 or 5 and 05 graduating class and things like that don't matter. It's just strictly those birth years. And we're really looking to just have kids sign up, and then we'll kind of go from there. But certainly I'd love to have one-off conversations if you have kids that we should be talking to specifically as well. My counterpart on the 16U team, Mike Weinstein, he couldn't be on the call today. He's an AAU coach, so he's at a tournament, but his kids would then be 06 and 07. So the response has been incredible. Being a part of this now is it's just been wonderful, and I'm excited for the opportunity. I'm excited to get over to Israel and bring back a gold for all of us. So I appreciate it, guys. My cell phone, if you wanted, is 609-705-0109. I pretty much answer that 24/7, although I missed Coach last night. And then my email is just my name, Matthew Malk, and the number 1@gmail.com. So I appreciate it. Any support we can get from you guys is greatly appreciated. And we're going to do the best we can to bring back gold. Everyone proud.
Awesome. And Brian and Matt, I would ask you to put your contact information in the group chat so that people can just put it down. That would be very helpful. Is Rabbi Schwartz with us?
Yes.
So Rabbi, I want to hand it over to you for a few minutes here. If you want to say a few words for us, and then we'll go to Matt, and then we'll go to our panel.
Okay. First, we're all coaches, and I want to encourage you that you are more than just a coach to your players. Some of you know this in so many different ways. You become a father figure, you become a friend, you become a family. We always try to create a family type atmosphere with our teams. But I always like to think before I start every season, when I walk into that first practice, that first team meeting, that I'm not just a basketball coach, I'm running a leadership academy. I've had the blessing of having some success as a coach and winning championships and stuff like that, and been at programs where that was the expectation, that we were going to win championships. And people would always ask me, well, Coach, what are you going to determine success this year? Is it a district title, conference title, winning it all? And I always say we won't know, or when a new class of kids come in, or the freshmen come in, or for a recruiting class, we won't know how successful we were for 8 to 10 to 15 years. That's what I always like to say, because there's the wins and losses on the court, but there's the wins and losses off the court. Our relationships with our players are going to long outlive their time playing for us. And so I always try to say that I'm running not just a basketball program, but a leadership academy, a mentorship to teach these young men how to be leaders in their own life. The type of fathers they're going to be, the type of husbands they're going to be, the type of people they're going to be in our community. I see that as a personal responsibility of mine, to make sure that I'm teaching life skills at every coachable moment, every teachable moment, and throughout the season, whether it's having a word of the day, a thought of the day, or a word of the week, but constantly reinforcing it. And that's the key, not just saying it a few times in the locker room or, on a bus or a team trip, but reinforcing those values. Every basketball program will typically have some sort of core values that are important to the success of the program. Make sure that you are constantly tying together life lessons with those core values in your basketball program to the type of people that they're going to be. Because like I said, long after they play basketball for you, they're going to be fathers, they're going to be husbands, they're going to be members of the community. And so I think it's really important that you make an impact, because you have those 2, 3, and 4 years with your players. And many of you coaches can attest to having to recruit kids and starting developing relationships in 7th and 8th grade in AAU and all the way through high school, so that you can get that kid to sign a letter of intent junior year or senior year. So some of those relationships go back, till these kids are 13, 14 years old, all the way through graduation. So you have a lot of time with them when they're on your campus. And so, like I said, really look at it as more of a leadership academy than just coaching, so that you can make a tremendous impact on them. And I guarantee you that years after they finish playing with you, they'll still call you coach. You'll be the coach in their life. And when they pick up a phone, or when they have to make any big decision in their life, I still have players who pick up the phone and call me. I still have players who text me, Coach, I asked her to marry me and she said yes. Just wanted you to know, or little things that happen. Or Coach, I just lost my job. You have any advice for me? So develop those relationships, run a leadership academy alongside your basketball program. Last thing, I've been traveling around the country pre-pandemic, visiting a lot of Jewish clinics and going to Jewish basketball, doing basketball camps all over the country. And whenever I'm in a Jewish setting, I always do what I call my Jewish tough speeches. And I just wanted to leave that with all you coaches, because we've been through a lot. We all just lived through and are still living through a pandemic. And I hope and pray that your families are okay and that you guys have gotten through this all right. But I know that many people have lost loved ones, have lost jobs, there have been cutbacks in athletic departments, and it has hit a lot of families in a lot of different ways. We just came out and we're finishing up the holiday of Passover, and it's a great time to sort of reflection of, concepts like slavery, redemption, freedom. But the one thing is that during the time of slavery, our people never gave up their identity of who they were, and they had every reason to. Like, who wants to be a slave? Why pray to a God when he allows me to be a slave? There are a lot of times when things don't go your way, when things are against you, to give up. And that's what we talk about, where our core values inside our basketball program is making sure that those core values never change for us. Regardless of the scoreboard, regardless of how the season's going, regardless of who's injured, of eligibility issues, we always stick with those core values, that they're very important. And the Jewish tough thing is I work very hard that identity is a very important thing to young people. And it should be to us as coaches. So your Jewish identity can be a great strength and a source of inspiration and motivation to you every day in your family life, in your personal life, and as a basketball coach. I go to work every day as a Jewish American basketball coach. I take my identity with me. We live in a world where people are becoming there's a lot of division in society between Republicans and Democrats, between the Black Lives Matter and gender issues and transgender and women's issues, with things going on in the Asian community right now. And people are standing up for themselves. They're standing up for what they believe in. They're standing up for their rights. And that's something that I try to do every day. And that's being a part of the American Jewish Coaches Association, that we stand up for each other and that we fight for each other. There are a lot of issues going on, especially at the high school level, with Catholic schools, Lutheran schools, Church of Christ schools, Baptist schools, who will not hire Jewish coaches. They say in their job applications at the beginning, we do not discriminate against race or gender or age, but we do have a right to have someone who models our religious behavior in the classroom and on the field and on the court. And their job applications don't necessarily start with, where did you go to college? What is your coaching experience? It starts with, are you a member in good standing with the Roman Catholic Church? Who is your parish priest? What diocese do you belong to? Where were you baptized? And I have a lot of coaching contacts who've been denied jobs. So this is a real issue for us in our community that some of you may not be aware of, more so on the high school level than the college level, for sure. But I wanted to give my little Jewish talk here, Jewish tough talk, and leave you with that today, which is that we are Jewish tough. If you look at the history of our people, we've taken on the Babylonians and the Greeks and the pharaohs of Egypt and the Roman Empire, from the pogroms of Russia to the Holocaust, and we're still here. We are Jewish tough. It is in our DNA. It is in our makeup that we are survivors, that we are a very, very tough people. If you ask most historians, what is the greatest empire to ever rule the earth? Many will say the Roman Empire. Where's the Roman Empire now? The Roman Empire is rubble in the dirt of Israel, while we build a Jewish future and a Jewish empire, the state of Israel, on top of the ruins of the Roman Empire. Now think about that for a second. The Romans conquered a lot of the known world, and they're not around anymore. The Roman Empire is gone, but we are building a state of Israel, a Jewish state, on top of the ruins of what may be the greatest empire to ever rule the earth. You look at where our people were in 1945. After 2,000 years of exile, 2,000 years of wandering the earth looking for a home, of going through the Spanish Inquisition and blood libels, and the Holocaust. 6 million Jewish people died in the Holocaust. Families, taken from their homes, tortured, beaten, put on cattle trains meant for animals, and sent off to concentration camps, and sent to the gas chambers. And at the lowest point in Jewish history, in 1945, where we had just had our entire cultures and communities and families torn apart, 6 million people dead, from the ashes of the Holocaust in 1945. Within 3 years, we went off to Israel, fought off the British first to get the British to leave, then took on the entire Arab nations and reestablished Jewish independence and freedom in the land of Israel, and created a Jewish state, the state of Israel in 1948. So from the ashes of the Holocaust and the lowest point in Jewish history, within 3 years, to give rebirth to Jewish freedom and independence in the promised land, in the Holy Land, the land of Israel, all with a citizen army. Think about that for a minute, that 3 year difference. And that tells you right there, we are Jewish tough. I mean, it's not a question. I mean, it is. We are Jewish tough. And every single one of you has that inside you. So whenever things get tough, whether it's job or your season or whatever you're going through, I just remember back to that you're Jewish tough. You'll be all right. And it can be a rallying cry. It's like I'm going to be able to do this because I'm Jewish tough. When I go into a job interview or a coaching interview, I say, I'm going to get this job because I'm Jewish tough. If I get rejected and I don't get it, I walk out of the meeting, I'll be all right. I'm Jewish tough. So you can give that a definition to Jewish tough, whatever it means to you, whether it's someone going through a divorce, going through a custody issue, going through health issues, going through career issues, pandemic stuff, family stuff. You're Jewish tough. You'll be all right. You'll get through it, and use that as your rallying cry. But that's your inner strength. And I want you to tap into that inner strength every day in practice, every day in the film room, every day when you go out and recruit. That I always say, when I go out if I have to recruit a player to come play for me and commit to me, and his family to commit to me for 4 years, what am I bringing to the table? Every coach walks in with kind of the same spiel. Some programs are better than mine. Some programs are more storied, have more tradition than mine. What is it that's going to get me over the hump to get that kid to come play for me? And I take my full self and my full story, and being a Jewish American coach, that Jewish toughness is something that I bring into that room with me. So everybody say Jewish tough.
Jewish tough.
There you go. Happy Passover.
Thank you, Bobby. I appreciate that. I'm ready to run through a wall. Let's do it. Okay. To keep things moving here, we are going to start our panel conversation. And I believe we have at least 4 Division I head coaches with us today. Josh Pastner from Georgia Tech, Josh Schertz from Indiana State, Joe Pasternack from Santa Barbara, and Eran Ganot from Hawaii. So gentlemen, and anyone could take this first if we maybe want to start with Coach Pastner. I want to talk a little bit about your journey and maybe some perspective of being a Division I head coach. And the first question I want to ask is, if you can have a conversation with yourself right before you became a Division I head coach, and Josh, that happened when you were 31 years old, what would you say to yourself, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, well, thanks. And Jason, just want to say for you, this is, all the effort that you've put in, Coach Elkin, Coach Garson, Rabbi Schwartz, everyone to continue to keep doing this has been absolutely awesome. And I missed everyone last year in Atlanta, unfortunately, but based on COVID. But anyway, glad that everyone's back together. But I will say that, looking back, I've said this many times, I wish I knew what I knew now when I was the coach at Memphis. Even though we won a lot of games at Memphis when I was the head coach there, I really wish what I knew today, I knew then. And the same thing, I hope, God willingly, I'm still a head coach 12 years from now, I could say the same thing back at this time. So I think as you move forward, I think just normally you're going to, just from maturation and growth, you're always going to, continue to hopefully be better and improve as you move forward. But, when you take over a program, there is no manual. You're moving 6 inches over from assistant to head coach, and you go from suggestions to decisions. And I would say that, the jobs are so, it's hard to get a job. It's hard to become a head coach. It's very, very hard. And I tell everyone, I got lucky. I was at the right place, right time. There's 2 million people or more qualified to be the coach at Georgia Tech and or Memphis at the time when I got it at 31 than I was. It just happened to be I was at the right place, right time, and got a really lucky break. And to be a head coach, you got to get a break somewhere along the line. You just got to get an opportunity, and it's hard. Those opportunities are hard to get, and you never know when it shows up. And so, when I look back, I wish one of the main things, there's many things, but one of the main things that sticks out, I felt like every year I would change. Like year one, I would have a way I want to play. And then year two, I would do something different. And then year three, do something totally different. I wasn't as consistent in my vision of my clarity on what I felt was the best way to be successful for our team. And I think looking back now, I wish I had a more clear vision at that time. I'm more clear vision now than I was then. I would say that, and the other word would be alignment. I think having everyone aligned to what is important to you as the head coach, I think is critical. And you've got to really find that out on what's the most important, whether that's in recruiting and or on the floor or off the floor. Having everyone aligned to you is a big thing. If you have disjointed alignment, it ends up being hard. And there's enough responsibilities as the head coach as it is. So trying to have everyone aligned on the same page would be the two things, if I could tell myself then, to have a clear vision and stick to what we on that vision, and then having everyone aligned.
Coach Pasternack, I'd love to hear the answer for that question from your perspective.
Yeah, I was a lot like Josh. In fact, hearing Bobby talk, and I talked to Josh about this, I just think this is a great event that you guys have put together. I'm big on the Jews have to stick together and take care of each other. Josh Pastner, actually, I was in an Indianapolis hotel room about to start a recruiting period. Actually, it was Akron, Ohio. And Josh called me and said, "Hey, did you know Buzz Williams was leaving New Orleans? He just told the AD." And that one phone call, him telling me that, I called the AD right away. I was the first one that called him, and I was lucky enough at 30 years old to get the head coaching job at New Orleans. Not that anybody wanted it. Buzz lasted about 9 months and got the hell out of there. So I was a very, very young head coach that didn't know anything about what to do. And like Josh, I think the years under both of our belts, as we were really young head coaches, we just learned by making so many mistakes. I think he probably would agree with that. And just to take it a step further, I would say the absolute number one thing, I think probably we've had similar situations, is who you hire, your staff. When he talks about alignment, that's everything. You have no chance to be a successful head coach if you don't hire the right staff that is aligned with you. When I was at New Orleans, I made a lot of mistakes as who I hired. And I think that would be the biggest thing I learned from that experience moving to this experience. I was really gun shy on who to hire. And I feel like I got very, very lucky and fortunate this time around. But the alignment part and who you hire, it all starts with people. You have no chance to be successful if you don't have an amazing, loyal, hardworking staff that believes in what you believe and how to run your system. And I would agree with him that that's the absolute number one indicator of being successful as a coach. That's where I would say.
Coach Schertz, I want to ask you a different question. You were a head coach of a Division II program for many years. In fact, Coach Schertz is now the second winningest coach in the history of college basketball. And we were talking earlier, if you look up in the chat, I posted his Wikipedia page. It's absolutely ridiculous. Coach, you've produced a lot of other head coaches. A lot of your assistants have been coached. From you, what is it you think is most important for an assistant to do? One, to help their head coach succeed, and then also to position themselves for head coaching opportunity.
Yeah, that's a good question. I wrote that Wikipedia page, so it's not true. Just know that I wrote everything myself. None of it is factual, but I did write it. So, no, I think so many people get in. I was really fortunate. I came in primarily as a D2 guy. I got a chance to go as an associate head coach, Division I at 27. But my early years, I was Division II. I think a lot of coaches maybe try to specialize in something. I'm going to be a great recruiter. I'm going to be, a great player development guy. I'm going to be X's and O's. I'm going to be a guy who's, really relatable to the players. And I think, the biggest thing you can do as an assistant is try to put yourself in a situation where you're really being stretched and grown, and you're getting a chance to touch the program in as many areas as possible. Because when you become a head coach, I don't think you could be successful only being a good recruiter if you don't know how to, coach your team or develop the talent inside of your team, or relate to your players or build a culture. I've been fortunate. I've always looked at assistants and tried to hire guys. Looked for work ethic, looked for intelligence, looked for guys who were great communicators, looked for guys who were humble, which I think allows them to continue to have that growth mindset, kind of is big in our program. And then guys really with high integrity, because if you have the other characteristics, you don't have integrity, those guys will kill you. If you got a guy who's super intelligent and works his butt off and he's a bad guy as an assistant, he's going to tear your program down. You'd rather have a lazy guy that is dumb if he's going to be a low integrity guy, right? So really surrounding yourself with those people, but having assistants that want to push the envelope. Even if you're, in a Division I situation, you don't have the ability to go out and recruit, but sitting in on recruiting calls, learning what they look for, learning how to evaluate. How do you do a scout? Can I help you here? Growing and developing yourself to be a basketball coach and not just be pigeonholed into a recruiter or an administrative guy or whatever the case may be. I think that's the key. And then as a head coach, I try to give my guys as much responsibility within the program as they can handle. They have segments in practice. They have a voice. We get in and there's rigorous debate. Everybody has an opinion and is valued. And, and then, you hope that these guys through success, and I'll close on this because I don't want to ramble on, but I think there's really three types of assistants. There's those that are not ambitious. There are those that are ambitious for themselves, and there are those that are ambitious for the group. And the ones you got to have are the ones that are ambitious for the group, because when the group succeeds, everybody benefits. And you want to be an assistant, a guy who's ambitious for the group, not territorial, not I did this, but you're ambitious for the group, understanding that the group success will give you the opportunities that you're looking for.
Very awesome perspective. Eran, I wanted to ask you, was there anything that when you were an assistant, you said, I'm never going to do this if I become a head coach, and then the minute you became a head coach, you ended up doing it? I'd love to hear that perspective, because I think it happens often that we have this perception that when we get into a leadership position, we're going to do something differently until we actually get there and realize finally why somebody else had done that in the past when we were working under them.
Well, that's a great question, and you're going to throw me under the bus, so I could throw Randy Bennett and or Riley Wallace under the bus. But first off, I want to thank you guys for putting this together. I don't think I've missed one. I don't plan on missing one. I appreciate you guys thinking about me when you selected this time frame. I don't know if there's another coach from Hawaii, but if I had a say in this, I know Scott made sure I was on here, but I thought it would be a great time to have our first late Jewish coaches late lunch or dinner. But I am excited that I got up, and I think I told Scott as well that my wife and daughter are not awake yet, so we've done good there. And I'll kind of go back and forth here. I don't think I know what Joe's saying, there's nothing more important than people, your staff, the kids you bring in, the alignment with your administration, your university president, the other teams. It's huge. And for me, who had been an assistant for 12 years until I got this opportunity with Hawaii, and I'll go back and forth here, but it's so important for me. I always said that my job was stress management in a way, make the coach look good, make the coach feel good, take a lot of things off his plate. I am fortunate to have worked for Randy Bennett 8 years and then came to Hawaii in 2006 for Wallace in the first of 2 stints, 2 of the winningest head coaches at their programs. But he had a great line for me that I use a lot is you take from others and then you put yourself into it. So it adds the authenticity in your personality. You learn from here, what you like, what you don't like, and then you put your personality into it. But, to answer that question about what you wouldn't do, I think all of us who have gotten that opportunity, who will, I feel like everyone says, well, we're not going to have these drawn out meetings. These meetings are too long. And yet here we are when we get those opportunities and you do those same meetings. And every time I leave those meetings, I go, I can't believe I did that again. I think we're shorter probably than the 3-hour meetings we used to have with Coach Bennett. I know Scott might remember some of those. When you're overanalyzing things, it's one of the true gifts that he has as well. But there's a lot of things I've taken from those guys. If you ask me one thing that you're constantly fighting internally is to avoid having those really long meetings. But I think it's hard as a competitor. When you get in these positions, you just feel, and you do as an assistant too. I mean, I took great pride in trying to be a good assistant coach, and I've taken great pride in hiring good assistant coaches. And I've worked with those guys, whether it was St. Mary's or Hawaii, or now currently on our staff that have become Division I head coaches, or I believe will become Division I head coaches. I think the common denominator with those guys is they all think like a head coach. They anticipate needs. It's just, if you have one of those assistant coaches on your staff, I know someone told me this too, that has that sense of urgency, crushes his responsibility, takes his responsibilities very seriously as if he's the head coach of that responsibility. Then when he's in that position, it's a smooth transition. That's why guys like Rick Croy, who I work with at St. Mary's, Adam Caporn, David Patrick, Todd Golden, who we coached, they've all been successful. And I know I'm missing some guys because, like Coach Schertz said, they weren't there was no specialization at St. Mary's. It was or guys I work with. It was, you're the head coach, you're responsible, and if you do a great job with it, your reward is more responsibility. And so, every aspect of running a program when you're in that situation. I'm telling you, it was smoother than I thought, despite only having 12 years and being 33. But I appreciate the guys I've worked with who threw me in the fire and gave me that responsibility. I know it's a long-winded answer, but I'd say I wish I was better at shortening some of these meetings.
I appreciate that, Eran. Good perspective. Coach Pastner, has there been anything over your tenure as a head coach that really challenged your core values? Obviously, you go in and you have an expectation that you are going to lead your student athletes, your assistants in a certain way. Was there anything that really challenged that along the way? And maybe even, how have your core values potentially evolved since becoming a head coach for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, look, Jason, I mean, a lot of it obviously is, I mean, it's kind of the balancing act of, you want to win. I mean, that's what's great about sports is there's a scoreboard, and the objective is to try to win the game. And at the same time, you're trying to hold true to your culture, and important that whatever's, the things that's important to you, as every coach has said, and Joe mentioned it, just about, the alignment factor, and you're trying to, do both. It's sort of like, okay, you're hungry at night and there's a bag of chips or an apple, and, and it's the easier to, the healthy choice is the apple more so than the bag of chips. And so, it takes a lot of focus to not get caught up just all about winning. And it's so much easier to say that than not. And I think that's a big challenge because, as a coach, everyone's been through it where your best player, and obviously your best teams is when your best player, you have no issues, the hardest worker, is an extension of the coach. But the harder times are when your best players, or your most talented players, should I say, your most talented players give you an issue, whether it is they're not working hard in practice, maybe they come late, maybe whatever it is, situation where the challenge is, okay, you need to win the games, and you obviously got to have good players to win the games, but do you sacrifice that for the culture of the team, knowing that you're in the end, you're trying to also get the W. And so I think that's a real challenge. And I know I've dealt with that. I'm sure every coach has dealt with that, because that is a real challenge that you deal with. It's, it's easy to say, hey, if so-and-so doesn't do this, I'm not, he's not playing the next day, or, and I've always told people, you always got to be careful with your words, because if you say something and not follow through with it, then it can really bite you in the rear, and you can really lose your team that way. So it's sort of like, if you kick someone out of practice and to tell them, you're not playing tomorrow, then all of a sudden you wake up the next morning, like, why did I say that? Now I got, you really put yourself in a box. So I think making sure the challenge of thinking ahead of time of the situations that could really, force you some, in challenging situations of when your talented players put you in that situation. And we've all gone through it. And I think that's the biggest challenge. And I don't know if there's any manual on it. I mean, look, we've all been there when you suspend a guy or you don't play a guy, and all of a sudden you win a game, and it just strengthens your culture. But it's also sometimes where one of your talented guys early on, and something happens, and do you not play them? Do you sit them out the first half? I mean, it's a real juggling type of mentality and all that. And I'm sure everyone's got different experiences on that. And that's why I've always said, even like before you make a rule, you want to make sure that you're ready to follow through on it. Like if you say, hey, curfew's at 10 o'clock, and if you're late to curfew, you're suspended. I've always told you want to make sure that you might want to say, there's going to be a consequence, and you can determine the consequence. Because once you say something, you've got to follow through on that. And again, everyone does it differently, but I just think those are some big challenges within the profession, because you need good players to win games. You need a great culture, and you also need talent. It's a mix. You can have a great culture and you don't have any good players. That can only take you so far. So it is a mix between the two.
Awesome perspective, Josh. Coach Schertz, I know you have to get going here, so I wanted to ask you the next question.
Sure.
If you could win 100% of your games, what other metric would you want to be evaluated as or on as a coach?
That's to me a pretty easy one. But to me, the ultimate measure of a coach is how your how your former players and staff talk about you. I've always felt that that's the truest gauge of the impact a coach makes. I know that sounds kind of cheesy or or very Pollyanna, but that to me is the most important metric. I think every one of us has a professional legacy, and that's pretty easy to see. How many games you won, championships, all that type of stuff. It's very simple. That professional legacy. I think our personal legacy is do those who know you best love you most, right? Like your family, your wife, your kids, the players that played for you, the people that work with you on a day-to-day basis. Because there's a lot of people who are admired from the outside and are probably not great people, but the people the closest to them know they're bad people, but outside they look great. So I always think, you want to do as well as you can with your professional legacy, but that personal legacy, those that know you best, love you most, your players, staff, obviously most importantly, your family, wife, kids, closest friends. That's the truest measure of success. And so that's to me would be a no-brainer in terms of the most important metric. Over winning percentage, championships, all that kind of stuff. You see plenty of guys who win a lot and leave a path of destruction behind them in doing so. And I think that other metric is a much truer gauge.
Awesome. And I would love to see a little Jewish coaches MTE with the 4 coaches that we have going here. We can host. Eran hosts it first in Hawaii.
That sounds good. I'm in. I don't even know. I'm in.
I don't think anyone wants to go to Terre Haute. So
No one's going to Terre Haute. It's although Terre Haute is better than Harrogate, but only slightly. So, but yeah, Hawaii sounds like a good place to start. That sounds like a good place to start.
Awesome.
Appreciate you guys having me on.
We'll get an
Jason,
exception for every year.
Yeah,
We'll keep it in Hawaii.
Yeah, keep it in Hawaii. I'm with that. No one wants to come here, so I'm good with that. But thank you, Jace, putting this on. You, Coach Garson, Coach Elks, everybody, that puts this on. This is amazing opportunity to connect. I'm glad I got this D1 job. It allowed me to go from just listening to being on the panel. So bump me up a little bit here with the big timers, but I'm grateful, and you guys do an incredible job. And it's I know somebody mentioned, it's a very small community and one that's kind of has a tendency to get overlooked. So, we got to keep each other, protect each other, help each other, and grateful to be a part of it. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course, Coach Schertz. Thanks.
Thanks, Josh. Congratulations, man.
Good luck. Really appreciate it. Appreciate it, Coach.
Coach Pasternack, I want to ask you a question. This question actually comes from Logan Bells from Cal State Bakersfield. You mentioned earlier about what you're looking for when you're hiring assistants, but what I want to hear is, what do coaches like yourself look for in administrators when you're thinking about taking a job? I mean, from one perspective, people say, if you get offered a Division I job, take it, because there's not a lot of them. But I know that it's really important that you have to work for the right person, somebody that's going to support you and all those things. So as you've been a Division I head coach at 2 different institutions, you've probably interviewed for a lot of other jobs. What is it that you look forward to or for in administrators and people around the program?
I think that's a great question. There are a lot of different administrators. When I was at Arizona as the associate head coach, we had Greg Byrne, who's now the AD at Alabama. And he was like relentlessly hands-on. He would come into the basketball office almost every day, and he wanted to know every detail of the program. Who are we recruiting? I want to meet with every recruit and help us get the player. And then there are other ADs that aren't, that hands-on, but like my AD here at Santa Barbara is terrific. He's not coming to my office every day. He allows us to work. And so I think every AD is different. And I think building a relationship with that AD to find out his vision in an interview of what is the goal, what is his vision of the program, what is the vision of not just the AD, but the president. Like Eran said, I think the president is a big deal too, because the AD works for the president, and finding out his style and asking questions. But I think, like you said, I don't know how you can be that picky. It's really hard to get a head coaching job. And I think it's more once you get the head coaching job, because you're not going to find out a lot in an interview about that athletic director. You can get a little bit, but the interview might be 20 minutes, an hour. I think the key is whatever head coaching job you take is to build a relationship. And I call it manage up with your athletic director, and build a relationship with him and get to know him and find out what he likes, what he wants to do with the basketball program. And then same thing with the president, and continue to build a relationship with your boss. But I don't know how you can be that picky in getting a head coaching job, because it's very, very difficult.
No question. And so, building the relationships, maybe even, or networking, building relationships with people in the industry to have a better barometer of who's out there, so that when you get that opportunity, you can think about it. Eran, I want to ask you the last question here. Talk to me about work-life balance. It's something that I know a lot of coaches struggle with. It's a 24/7 job. Obviously, you have the opportunity to walk down to the beach and get a tan sometimes, but
Yeah, it's a great tan I got going, right?
exactly. But in all seriousness, how have you managed to spend time with your family and not get too overwhelmed by all of your responsibilities as head coach?
I think it's a great question, and it's an ongoing battle, I think, for a lot of coaches. Our profession is very demanding. It continues to get more demanding. The new rule changes over the last decade or so encourages that as well. I remember starting out in coaching, and you didn't have access to these guys in the summers. We didn't have as much access to them, obviously, pre-COVID as we do in the pre and post season. Recruiting calendars have changed. Practice start dates have changed. I'll say that it was, when you're younger and you feel like, when I started coaching and I volunteered, I've kept kind of that same work ethic, but you don't feel it as much until you start getting a little older. I think a lot of that improves for me on a personal level towards my last couple of years as an assistant. And just like that, you jump into a head coaching opportunity, one that at the time for Hawaii was going through a lot of negative things, a lot of stuff. So the combination of that, I feel like I went backwards. And it's interesting because towards the later years as being an assistant, my balance was better. And as a coach, as a recruiter, whatever it is, improved. And then I took a step back when you jump into a head coaching opportunity again with what we were going through at Hawaii at the time. It felt like things reverted. And, I quickly caught wind of it and got back on track. I'm going to use this as an example now. It wasn't very enjoyable to go through, but I did miss. I've never missed a practice. I've never missed a game. I don't miss anything. But last season, the 1920 season, I missed about 55 or so days. Took a leave of absence. And it's not something I'm really proud of. It's not something I ever thought would happen. But you asked the question. I do think maybe it's an opportunity it was an opportunity for me to get better in some areas, an opportunity for me to educate others. But half of it was some genetic health issues. There's three different, one of them was my heart. The other half was like you said, the lack of a balance, the grind. And that combination eventually blew up into a situation where I had to step away. So, like at the end of the day, when you get to those points, I think as a young coach, becoming an assistant, getting your first head coaching job, your competitive spirit, which will never change till you're older. It's hard to say as a guy who works, and I know everybody here works their tails off, but you can't do it. It's not worth it. And it's not the diminishing returns for, I know we all work, be secure with that, take care of your body, eat well, spend time. I have a great wife, a great daughter. I live in Hawaii and I'm sitting there, grinding away. And before you know it, so I hope it's a lesson. I know it's a lesson for me. I hope I can use that as a lesson for others. And I know I'm not the only coach who maybe hit in short, maybe what you call a burnout. But just continue to be secure with you are. And I know there are going to be points in time that will force you in a position, whether it's circumstances around some kind of internal pressure you put on yourself or external pressure. Surround yourself with great people like we talked about earlier and catch it in the moment and understand this isn't the right path. It's not going to do what you want in the end. But I hope, if anything, that what I went through could be something that others could learn from.
Ron, thank you for sharing that and being frank. And mental health is a serious issue for all of us, particularly this year. It's been a tough year for everybody. And I think we're all hopeful that we're going to reach the light at the end of the tunnel. But I am also hopeful that we all use this year as a lesson for what's important in life. And maybe the silver lining is that we got a chance to spend some more time with our families than we otherwise would. And I think it's important that, again, this community, the ability to be vulnerable, the ability to use each other as a resource, even if that's just to have a conversation when things are getting tough, and knowing that we can speak to somebody and feel comfortable doing so. So round of applause for our head coaches panel. Enjoyed it. And I'm going to hand it over to Coach Elkin, who's going to say a few things before we open it up and continue to schmooze. So Matt, if you want to take over here.
Thanks, Jason. And thank you to all of the coaches that participated in our panel. Really appreciate you guys. And also thank you just to everybody for being here. I know we've all been on a ton of Zooms on our laptops or phones, but it was really important for myself, Scott, and Jason to continue the Jewish Coaches Association in lieu of missing last year and in lieu of not being able to be together this year in Indianapolis. But for me personally, I came to my first Jewish Coaches Association breakfast about 7 or 8 years ago, I think it was, in Atlanta for the first time. And I was a young manager at the time, and it was just an incredible opportunity for me to meet other people in our coaching community that shared something in common that you might not know right off the bat, and got to meet a lot of great coaches and a lot of familiar faces that are on this call today that I'm really excited to see. And with that being said, I've felt that the Jewish Coaches Association can do a lot more. I feel like every year we get together at the Final Four, but I also know there's a lot of people on this call that are joining for the first time because maybe they don't get an opportunity to go to the Final Four and participate in the breakfast, which is one of the great benefits of being on a Zoom like this. So, what I wanted to try to do is kind of take some initiative to make the Jewish Coaches Association more of a collaborative environment, more of something that we can use to stay connected throughout the year, not just during the Final Four convention. And so part of that comes with, creating kind of and expanding what we're able to offer, what we're able to do, how we can stay connected as a community of Jewish coaches. And the great thing too is that there's not just basketball coaches on this call. We have people from the media, we have people in administration, we have rabbis, we have, people that just love the game of basketball and love Judaism. So what I wanted to try to do is just kind of get the ball rolling. And I included, I'm going to throw it in the chat one more time in case anybody has just joined. It's just a quick Google form that'll help Jason, myself, and Scott to keep in touch with you guys throughout the year. Could be sending updates via email about new coaching changes, guys that are having success. We'd love to do something like a new member Zoom with new people that want to join, or some people that have been a part of the association for many years, and coaching panels, all different things that we want to try to start up a social media, a website, different things like that. So just want to put that out there. If anybody's interested in kind of helping us to grow the Jewish Coaches Association, we'd love to have you to be a part of it. We're looking for people that have many different talents, and we know everybody's busy. So it's something that would love to collaborate on. Feel free to reach out to me or Jason or Scott or anybody for that. And just look forward to keeping in touch with everybody. I'm glad to see so many familiar faces. Hope everybody is doing well. And we're excited to keep the ball rolling on the Jewish Coaches Association moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. So that concludes our formal agenda. And again, I appreciate everyone for joining us today. We're going to keep the Zoom open. If anyone has any questions, wants to kind of talk, again, we have some breakout rooms. So if anyone is interested in, maybe having some sidebar conversations, feel free to do so. But thank you guys. And I am very much looking forward to seeing all of you next year in person in New Orleans, hopefully, where we can actually have a delicious bagel and lox again. So thanks again, guys. Really appreciate everyone coming out today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, the whole panel. That was fantastic. Really, really great. Great insight this morning.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Chag Sameach from Israel.
Chag Sameach, Yuval.
Jason, Coach Elkin, Coach Garson, thank you so much, guys, for setting this up. Really do appreciate it every time. I look forward to this. I've only been to the Final Four a handful of times via Ziggy, but I definitely look forward to seeing everyone and keeping everyone, connected. So thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks, Logan, for coming out.
Hey guys, I'll throw out some. So I also do motivational speaking and motivational life coaching on the side. And I've been getting a lot of clients that are college coaches, especially football coaches and basketball coaches. And I thought I'll open this up to all the Jewish coaches in our organization. If you ever need, it's nice to be able to pick up a phone sometimes after a tough loss, or, when you're worried that your job is in jeopardy, or you're in the hot seat, or social media is blowing up of why you shouldn't be the head coach, or you're an assistant coach and you're worried the head coach is going to lose his job. And what's going to happen to you? What's your next stop? So it's nice to be able to pick up a phone sometimes and talk to someone that can, pump you up and be a life coach there for you. So I'll throw that out to you guys.
Bobby, did you put your contact information into the group chat?
Yes, I think I was probably the first one at the
Got it.
top.
Okay, good.
Very top up there.
Excellent. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. And feel free to hang out in the room here, chat wherever, and look forward to watching some of these games later. I wish we had a representative in the Final Four. Unfortunately, I think this year may be one of the first years we don't actually have somebody on. But should be a couple of good games here.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for getting on. Hopefully we'll see each other in person next year.
Yes.
I have a question for Coach Pastner. How integral was Ben Tanoff to your success this year?
Oh, Ben's great. I love Ben. Ben's my guy. I don't know if he's still on or not, but he was on for a little bit here, but Ben's been great.
Yeah, Ben's my guy, and I've followed him. He was
Ben's
one of those
still on.
life coaching people. He used to just reach out about everything. And when he landed at Georgia Tech, I was like, "That's awesome."
Yeah, no, Ben did a great job for me. He was awesome.
Appreciate that, Rabbi.
Oh, there he is. You're the one. You look more like a rabbi than I do with this beard thing you got. I don't know. Is that a 3-day shave, lack of shave, or is that your normal look there?
No, if I completely shave, I look like I'm about 12 years old. So, I got to do something to look older than the players.
There you go.
Awesome.
But I will say with Coach Pastner still on here, and if there's any younger guys still on, I was going through some stuff this morning and I came across this note that I could probably turn my virtual background off so you can see this. Hang on. There we go. I came across this note that I still have from Coach Pastner. This was from High Holidays 2 years ago when I was a GA at the University of Pikeville. And, would never have thought at the time that from there, I would somehow find my way onto his staff, experience the year we did, get to be part of an amazing ACC championship run. And a lot of those connections wouldn't have happened without a lot of these Jewish coaches on the call here. So, just as everyone said, thank you guys for being on the call. Jason, Rabbi Schwartz, Matt, we really appreciate everything you guys do for this, and it definitely goes a long way. It might not be an overnight thing, but it definitely goes a long way. So thank you.
Our pleasure. I mean, this is just awesome, and it's a highlight of the year to be able to come together and have a conversation. And I hope it proves fruitful for everybody, and that I'm actually kind of excited. I think that being able to have these panels and now maybe get together more often than just once a year, I think is very valuable. And we don't have an excuse anymore, right? Because the Zooms have become normal part of everyday life. So I hope that we can take advantage of that moving forward. And I'm going to put it on Matt's shoulders to organize some stuff here moving forward, maybe again here in the summer or something, and we can get together and have a conversation.
I've been
No
working out
pressure,
a lot.
no
I've been
pressure.
working out a lot, so my shoulders are ready for it, Jason.
Awesome. Awesome.
I'd be willing to host like a Zoom meeting like once a month or something, like in the off season or something like that, before basketball season starts, if people thinks that's something that they'd be into.
So to that point, Rabbi Schwartz, one thing, and I mentioned this, Matt, filling out the questionnaire, but I know at least when I started at the University of Pikeville, like there wasn't a synagogue within 2.5 hours of the school, right? So I think now with, Zoom at our fingertips, if something with Rabbi Schwartz, if he's willing to do that, like at Friday night services, or even something around the high holidays, getting people on Zoom, just so they can feel that sort of connectedness. Because a lot of those small school, you're in the middle of nowhere, and I was probably the only Jew for, within a 120-mile radius of where I worked. So something like that, to be able to still feel connected to this group of people throughout the year, I think would go a really long way.
That's a great idea, Ben.
Yeah, I love that.
All right,
I
guys.
just think, I just will add, I think, no matter what, I know Matt's intent is to definitely try and help us connect at least as a bigger group as well, at least a couple times a year, not just for the Final Four. And I think that's going to be really good too, to keep in the back of everybody's mind as we're looking to help, as we're all, especially this time of year, looking to help other coaches find opportunities and find jobs. And let's just not forget one another and continue to keep each other in mind. And, as we know, it's a cold, hard world out there in this college coaching gig. And so let's just keep looking after one another, and I just appreciate all you guys very much. So
We could also do it as a professional development. So we could set up, like, we're in April now, so in May we'll have a Zoom meeting, and we could invite a coach to come on and talk about how they like to attack, zone defenses. And then the next month we meet in June, we talk about how to handle, inbounds plays ideas and how to attack presses and stuff like that. So throw a little professional development in as well. Get coaches to say, this is my favorite, if I need a 3 late in the game, this is my favorite, play to draw up, or something like that, or give us some ideas, some tips.
That would be awesome, Rabbi. Just real quick, is there anybody on here that's never attended a Jewish Coaches Association breakfast before? Okay, cool. Awesome.
you
So
kidding me,
that-
Coach Fisher?
What was that, Scott?
I didn't know Coach Fisher had never been on one. Jeez.
I
haven't been to a Final Four for a while. That's just that's a JC thing, because the NABC stopped giving tickets out.
We need to pick up your JUCO budget here.
Yeah, I got to have a season.
Coach Pastner, do you have something?
No, I was going to say I thought the idea about maybe doing even for some of the, and there's some really good coaches, and I know there's guys at different levels, but that like Coach Garson's been around Majerus, he's been around Ben Hallen, Herb Send. He's as knowledgeable. I would love to hear some of his different thoughts. Different guys have been, just even like Josh, who just got the Indiana State job. He's won 83% of his games. Even stuff like that. I think there's a lot of really good coaches on here. I'd love to hear what different, if there was ever a time to do something, you're at Yale, you know what I mean? What you're getting from coach, you guys run good stuff. Just, I don't know, just 2 cents on that. I think there's a lot of good X and O stuff we could get together.
Yeah, that would be awesome. My goal is to try to make this more collaborative, share more content, basketball related, outside of basketball related, And it's going to require help from you guys to keep it going, but we're doing our best here. And, I think this is a great opportunity. Not everybody gets a chance to go to the Final Four every year. Just seeing by the hands that you guys had. We also have a lot of young coaches, managers, GAs. And I was in your guys' shoes, just like Ben was, I think, when we first met at the breakfast many years ago. So now we're all working our way up. So this is a really good network to be a part of for anybody that's joining for the first time. So, I hope everybody can continue to join in. And if anybody has ideas, in that Google Doc that I sent out at the bottom, there's a room for suggestions. If anybody has thoughts about what we can do to stay connected, would love to do that.
I think it would help Matt to and we texted about this, but to have like a social media, like a Twitter page or something where you can kind of just stay updated and connected to people that way. Cause I think everyone's on Twitter now, and it's a good way to stay connected to people.
Definitely. I think we were going to get Rabbi to start a TikTok. If we can make that happen maybe. But hey, Dan, well, if you have a second, can you real quick just tell people if they're unfamiliar with what you've been doing on your end?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Daniel Marks. I'm the manager of prospect information for the Milwaukee Bucks. Been with the Bucks for 8 years, do college scouting and a lot of background intel. I talked to Coach Garson about Zach LaVine, my first year in the league when he was still at UCLA. And then last year I started a charitable initiative called Scouting and Scavenging, encouraging people in sports to collect unused hotel toiletries from their travels for donation. We were able to donate 2,100 toiletry kits last year in Newark, New Jersey, which is where I'm based out of. We've got over 12,000 supplies that came in this year in donations. We had over 80 programs participate, NBA, G League, college. Matt, had been helpful at Yale. Obviously, they didn't have a season, but Coach DeMayo from St. John's, his Dobo, Chris Huey, was one of our biggest collectors, and we got like 30 pounds of donations from them recently. So they're kicking ass, and we're going to be donating the supplies on April 27th. And so if anyone wants to get involved, I put my number in the chat. But just a really easy way. Most of that stuff gets thrown out when you check out of the hotel, regardless of if you use it or not. So going instead of letting it go to waste, donating it in your community, or we have partners where I'm based out of.
Thanks, Dan.
I have a quick question just about really the whole organization. Have you guys ever thought of doing not like a mentoring program, but kind of how Rising Coaches does the coaches to coaches? Have you guys ever looked into possibly doing that, where each month you match up a member with a member?
I think that would be a great idea. Yeah. No,
that's never come up. I mean, honestly, like all the ideas like that are great. I mean, the thing about this is like things like that haven't come up because I think that's exactly what we're trying to do, is bring a little more organization to this. It's just kind of been a thing where, hey, we're all in coaching, we're all Jewish, we get together and have breakfast and have a little fun on a Saturday of the Final Four. I think that's exactly the type of idea that we'd like to try and add to this. So we can all help each other better and we can all grow more. I mean, we're all involved in all these other different organizations. When you look at the amount of coaches that are on this Zoom today, I mean, and the amount of coaches that have come to the last, few Final Four get-togethers, I think there's things like that can really help us grow. We got enough people. Look at all the head coaches now, that whether it's Division I, non-Division I, all the head coaches there are, that are Jewish. Not that it's a lot compared to some, but it's grown tremendously.
Yeah, and Dylan, I think the really cool thing about the Jewish Coaches Association, you have an initial connection to somebody just through being a part of this. And it's a lot deeper than the school that you work at, or, being on a Zoom call with somebody and listening to a coach speak. Like the Judaism and the values that we all share connects us in a much deeper way, I think, than a lot of stuff on the surface. So I know, like, Coach Pastner talked about it, and all the coaches that we've had on here, but like most of the people that are in this part of this organization, when you reach out to them, they will get back to you and they will make a connection, and it'll be deeper than just, can I get a job? And I think that's great for young coaches. I'm still a young coach, so I do it as myself. So yeah, appreciate that idea. And I think that would be awesome to make that happen. We also, and I mentioned it before, we also have a lot more than just coaches here. Like I see Chad's on here, Ari. I mean, we got people that are involved in the professional game, agents. We had media. Jeff Goodman was on earlier. We have guys that are scouts, evaluators, everything, every step along the way. So again, this is a collaborative network that expands beyond just Jewish coaches. So hopefully that can be a resource for everybody here.
What would be a next step to put Dylan's idea in motion? Because I think it's amazing. I think it's really, really good.
I think we should get maybe Dylan and Matt and myself and Jason and a few other people. Maybe we can connect in a smaller group and talk about about exactly the details of how something like that would work.
I'm happy to join that. I'll actually help run it because I think it's really a good idea. And I'm not coaching now. I mean, I have other stuff going on, but I think collaborating is key. Every one of my chats deals with collaboration. I think that's, it gets talked about, but I'm happy to try to make it happen. So for whatever it's worth, and I put my contact in the chat.
Yeah, Barry, that's great. I mean, and you know what's great too, you just saying that, I've received several text messages myself during this Zoom, and I'm sure Jason, Matt maybe have maybe received some as well, of people that have said, hey, if there's anything I can do to help, be a part, be active members. So that's great, like to be more active. So yeah, I mean, I think we'll take you up on some help.
Please sure. Do. And you can all call Coach Pasternack about me. I've known him since he arrived in Berkeley. We've been in many dinners.
I'm so sorry you've known him that long. That's
me too. Trust me. Trust me.
I hope he's never yelled at you.
I've yelled at him. We've had a lot of fun together. I was at he and Lindsay's wedding. So, I really am happy to do this. I think it's a really great idea. Dylan, seriously, a really good idea. So I wrote my contact in the chat, or I'll reach out to you, Coach, whatever. This is a smart idea, truthfully.
Yeah, we'll make sure we, Matt and Jason and I will regroup after this and put some of these ideas in motion here, and we'll definitely grab some help from yourself and some others, and I think that'll be terrific.
I'm in Berkeley, Coach. I'll drive down and meet you now that I've had both shots.
Perfect. I'm stuck as an assistant coach, so I just have to make sure I'm allowed to go at that time. You know what I mean? It's incredible.
I do.
We don't. Unlike Coach Pastner, I can't just tell you I can have lunch that day. You just never know.
No, I get it, but we'll figure something out.
Let's do it. No, let's definitely do it. Let's definitely.
Anyway, I'd be happy to help. I really think it's a very, very smart thing to do. So anyway, for whatever that's worth, everybody.
There's a lot better Jewish delis up your way, so I'll come to you.
Deal. Thank you, everybody, for doing this. I'm going to hop off, but please take me up on this, because again, that's one of my great takeaways of this whole thing is just further collaboration. I wrote it in the form I filled out and everything. So, but Dylan's idea means a lot to me. So anyway,
yes.
Stay safe, everybody.
Thanks, Coach. We'll talk to you real soon.
Enjoy the weekend.
All right. Well, I think is there anybody else that has anything they want to bring up to the group? Anything anybody else wants to share? Questions for me or Coach Garson or anybody?
I just want to say thank you to you guys. I was texting with somebody else a couple minutes ago. I've been coming to these for several years now. I don't know exactly when it started, but I was going to these breakfasts close to the beginning of these. and, 15, 20 guys and, one tray of bagels and everything else, there'd be half of it left over. And now you have 75 guys on a Zoom call. And a couple of years ago, we had over 100. And it just, these things have been growing great. So to Scott, to Jason, to Matt, to everybody else that does anything with this, it's fantastic. It's always the event I look forward to every Final Four, and great to connect this year. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate you, Dave.
I think it was 2004.
I'll tell you what, it was just, I think it was 2004. And I'll just give you a couple of good stories of mine was my, I obviously got fortunate enough to tag along on 3 Final Four runs with Coach Howland at UCLA. And each year we were going to the Final Four, so I couldn't go to the Jewish coaches breakfast because I had no time. And so I was sending my dad and my brother, and then they were taking a couple of my buddies who were coming out for the Final Four, and it was 3 years in a row, and they were having a blast. And one thing I think that's nice too, and I look forward to hopefully being in person next year, is people bringing their dads or bringing their kids, or, I think that's just awesome. It's amazing. Bringing their wives. Some people are actually, brave enough to do that. I haven't done that yet, but I think it's just all, it's just really a nice network we've built. It is incredible how big this has gotten compared to where it started. So,
my first year in coaching was 2006. So I wasn't, and I went to the breakfast that year. So it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, there you go.
I still have a Dodger shirt, Scott, that your dad gave me from Maccabi.
There you go.
He was wearing Dodger stuff for Team LA instead of wearing like the Maccabi. So he was wearing Dodger stuff.
Yeah.
Scott, the first year, all the boosters that came with Bruce, I'm not sure any of them were. That might be my best memory of our start.
Yeah, no doubt. There's been some people sneaking in for some free bagels and boxes. There's no question. So
The door's always open for Elijah.
that's right. Passover is all about, right? Well, thank you guys, everybody. This is great. And I actually am going to have to jump off here in a few minutes. Otherwise, my kids might kill my wife. So I got to save her.
Appreciate everybody for joining us today. Great to see you all. Stay safe. Enjoy the games today. We'll hope to see everybody soon next year for sure.
Yeah, take care, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Yeah, happy
Shabbat
birthday.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Next year at the Final Four. Instead of next year in Jerusalem, next year at the Final Four.